Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Ghost in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the K7 submachine gun. This is a submachine gun that I thought that I would hate, and I thought that quite a long time ago when I first got Ghost and I got the stat charts compiled and I was getting information in. I took a look at the K7 and the stats on this weapon aren't very appealing to me, and I was like, man, this does not look like a very good gun. However, after actually using it, I do rather like it, and I like it to the point where it's one of my permanent weapons. This is in one of my permanent classes and not the ones that I experiment with in depth, because it is a very good stealth and objective playing submachine guns. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that the top link in the description will take you to Brass Monkey's Ultimate Utility app. He and I worked together to develop the Ask Drifter app, and he also built this one, which is kind of like a pocket utility or like a pocket in-depth. It has all the stats that I've got here today, all the ones that I've done before, and pretty much all the ones coming up on the next in-depth, and I work with him to keep it up to date and such. So it's kind of like a sort of pocket in-depth. You get all the weapon stats and sort of tools and stuff like that in your pocket, well, for iPhone and Android, mind you. So if you're interested in that, you can click the link in the description and check it out. And don't forget to use code DRIFT if you purchase or whatever to let them know where it came from. And now let's jump into the actual stats of the K7 SMG. It'll deal 34 damage in close quarters combat, but drop off to 15 damage at a distance. And this is very unique for a Call of Duty game. 34 damage is pretty normal. That means it's 3 shots to kill and just barely over that 3 shot to kill threshold. But dropping off to 15 is very unusual. Almost every gun in Call of Duty will drop off to 18 or 17 damage, which will mean it'll be 3 to 6 shots to kill, but this one is 3 to 7 shots to kill. I've actually never seen a submachine gun that requires 7 shots to kill, which makes it very low damage. This is definitely a low damage SMG, and it is the lowest damage SMG in the game, and that's kind of brutal. Thankfully, you do get bonus on headshots. That's 1.5x damage. That'll save you some time and trouble. The range is kind of a weird one. It has a 3-shot kill range of 17 meters, but the 7-shot kill range, or where you hit your minimum, is all the way out to 24 meters. So somewhere in between 17 and 4, there is a very steep and sharp drop-off and decline to almost uselessness. And this may look bad, but this is actually the second best 3-shot kill range, right there behind the Vector, and the MTAR is just a smidgen behind this. The 3-shot kill range on this gun is actually very good. However, after that 3-shot kill range, your damage is going to diminish to almost nothing very, very quickly. The rate of fire, thankfully, is good at 895 RPM. That is not the fastest firing, unfortunately. It is the 3rd fastest, but it's really close to 2nd. I mean, the difference between number 1 and number 2 are pretty close up there, so it is one of the faster firing submachine guns in Call of Duty Ghosts. When it comes to time to kill, that means it's going to have a very fast time to kill in close quarters combat, but it's going to drop off to near worthlessness at long ranges. I would like to say that it has a slow time to kill, but it almost doesn't kill all the way out there. It's not likely that you're going to hit enough of your shots before the person runs away to get them, so close range only, don't go for long range. The recoil is high but controllable. I would class this as possibly the highest recoil submachine gun, if not the highest, maybe the 2nd highest, definitely in the high kick category. And unfortunately, it's also not a very predictable recoil, but it's not so much that you can't control it, that you can't correct it a little bit, especially within its normal optimal range, which is close quarters combat. You can keep it more or less under control and on target, but it is almost, again, worthless at long ranges, and I would very highly recommend against any sort of accuracy shots with this weapon. You can correct it with a grip. Thankfully, the grip does help this one considerably. You see that I am running it here in the game, in the commentary, and I'm going to get to the class build with it, because I believe the grip helps enough, and I run it on this weapon. It has good hip-fire accuracy. It's not any better than any of the other submachine guns. Maybe the rate of fire helps a little bit with the spray and the randomness and such, but like the rest of the submachine guns, very good hip-fire accuracy, and there is no shame in hip-firing with this weapon. So honestly, a lot of times I get better kills with it hip-fire, or more kills with it hip-firing than when I do aiming down sights. The aim down sights time is 0.2 seconds, which is faster than assault rifles and marksman rifles and snipers and stuff, but it's normal for the submachine gun class. Reload times are a little bit on the slow side of thing for the animations, and a little bit fast if you go for the cancel. If you go through your entire magazine, it's 3.2 seconds on the animation. If you got a few bullets in there, you don't have to chamber any, 2.5. And if you do the reload cancel, like pretty much everybody does all the time, even if they don't think about it, it's 1.8 seconds. So always reload cancel, that's good. Magazine size is kind of small for submachine guns. You only have 32 rounds in the mag, so that would be tied for lowest magazine capacity for submachine guns. Still more than most assault rifles. With extended mags, you're going to go up to 48, and as you'll see in the game, I'm running extended mags. I find it to be very valuable on this submachine gun. It's really not a high ammo capacity weapon, unfortunately. You'll run out of ammo pretty quickly if you're not careful. On the plus side of things, I think the iron sights are almost perfect on this weapon. I really like these iron sights for once. Most of the time I don't like the iron sights and I complain about them, but these are clear. The foresight is very circular, it's clear, it's got a tiny thin little bar in the middle, and I can very easily treat it like a red dot and track people. The hindsight is a little bit bulky, we have some obstructions, but thankfully they're spaced far away enough from where I'm aiming to where it's not normally a problem, and the sights don't often kick up enough to obscure the target. Unfortunately, because of the weapon's recoil, and they are ultimately iron sights, it's not good for long ranges, but the ranges at which this gun should be being used, it is optimal, and I have no problems with iron sights. I would recommend not using optical attachments. Optical attachments are almost totally worthless on the K7. Seriously, a lot of people like red dot sights and EOTechs and ACOGs and stuff like this, but the gun has extremely limited range and high recoil, and the range at which, you know, if you wanted to aim at somebody far away such that the iron sights, you know, you couldn't see them very good, the gun is just going to underperform at that distance anyway, so putting a dot sight or something on it is not going to help you, so I very highly recommend against the optical attachments. On the plus side, it does have an integrated silencer which keeps you off the radar while shooting. This is a major plus to the gun. That's probably why it's classed as a low damage. This is a stealth submachine gun. That integrated silencer keeps you off the radar, and it is a savior. If you're going to be a stealth SMG rusher, if you want to get up in people's face in close quarters combat stealthy wise, this is the submachine gun for you. There is definite viability on other submachine guns to be used for stealth, probably for slightly longer ranges or different purposes. There's no shame in running silencers on anything, but when I think silent submachine gun, I think the K7, and that's the way I rock my K7. The class build that I have for you today is what I would call my stealthy objective class. I'm running extended mags on it because the ammo capacity is low. I get more ammo in my stock, and because it's low damage, and of course, you know, having low damage, you're going to need a lot of shots to kill, so the extra ammo helps. Foregrip helps keep me accurate. It doesn't help the hip fire at all, but it definitely helps me when I'm aiming down sights. I also run ready up and steady aim in conjunction with this to make me very effective at snapping out of sprinting into hip firing or to aim down sights. Hardline and scavenger, no focus, none of that sort of stuff. Hardline allows me to get my support streaks faster. That's very important. Assist count, getting objectives count. Scavenger, because I do run out of ammo pretty quickly. I'm running off the grid, of course, to stay off the radar. Nobody likes being on the radar. I don't like being on SATCOMs, especially when I'm running a silenced weapon, so this definitely helps. And as I mentioned before, support streaks. I run SATCOM, Ballistic Vest, and the Oracle because I believe those are the ones that help your team the most. And if you play like this, if you play objective-oriented, if you flank often and work on it, you will get a lot of support streaks and really help your team, and you'll really turn a game around, and this is an excellent weapon for it. My advice to you would be to flank and rush your heart out. Be fast with this weapon. You're not running the traditional fast perks like agility or marathon, but it is a light machine gun. You do have that movement speed anyway, and you're relatively stealthy, so this build will work for you if you play objectively on small maps. This is not a huge map class. This is not a team deathmatch class. This is a class for you to play the objective on Sovereign, on Flooded, maybe on Chasm and some of these other sort of maps with close quarters combat, because this gun will do serious work in close quarters combat. It's often underrated because of the long range damage, but this is one of the few weapons that are truly viable up close in Call of Duty Ghosts. Well guys, that's all for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something useful. If you'd like to check out my previous episode on armor piercing rounds, you can click the box on the left. That'll open a new window. If you'd like to check out the next episode, that's going to be on the Vepr. You can click that box. It'll also open a new window. As always, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe.